Since 2008, 944 children in the U.S. have been killed by a parent or parental figure during a high-conflict custody dispute. In many of these cases, protective parents approached the court to report abuse, only for the system to prioritize visitation over specific danger signals. When teacher union strikes shutter school districts, the impact hits the home immediately. Beyond the classroom, these closures cut off access to daily meals for children in poverty and force working parents into last-minute childcare arrangements they often can't afford. This tension is now spilling into infrastructure, as the rapid expansion of AI data centers triggers local resistance that has escalated into threats, vandalism, and, in at least one instance, gunfire aimed at officials. These crises are the products of a zero-sum economic model. Whether in a courtroom or a boardroom, the standard aisle and bar method views every interaction as a coliseum, where for one side to win, the other must lose. This math tracks billable hours with precision, but is functionally blind to the biological drain it extracts until people hit a breaking point. These tragedies are the predictable outputs of an extractive system. When the code itself ignores the limits of human endurance, the system will eventually crash the people living inside it. During a long labor strike or a litigious court battle, individuals enter what is known as a contract deprivation zone, or CDZ. These zones demand constant resilience and emotional labor from participants, while offering no systemic way to restore the resources being siphoned away. The end result is a no attention reserve tragedy, or NART. It is a 0% state where a person's psychological and biological reserves are completely emptied, often leading to the preventable violence seen in custody disputes and local protests. When legal and economic frameworks treat human presence as an infinite resource to be mined, they create a starvation model that terminates in human loss. Modern technology has added a new layer to the strain. Attention deprivation zones, or ADZs, now stack on top of these legal and labor crises. We see this in the modern worker juggling gig economy pings and algorithmic demands while managing domestic stress, a state of constant sensory overload. This is the silicone hollow. Every time you open a browser or unlock your phone, you are stepping into a hostile environment. The modern internet operates as a digital Wild West, engineered specifically for extraction. What they are mining is your attention. Today's digital economy places a higher premium on harvesting behavioral data than it does on basic human well-being. When your cognitive reserves are drained by endless scrolling, you are left in what researchers call an empty screen storm, a state of systemic neglect where your focus is entirely depleted. We intuitively know that our attention is highly valuable, yet we navigate this daily drain without any gauge to show us exactly how much we are losing. To stop the bleed, you have to be able to see it. We need a way to measure the deficit before it spirals out of control. This brings us to a framework known as the Rescue Meter Blessed Vision. Think about how you regulate the temperature in your home. You don't guess if it's freezing or boiling. You check the thermostat. We need that exact same mechanism, a smart thermostat for human attention screens. This calibration process starts with the red dial, the aware phase. This is the red zone. Just like a dashboard warning light, it alerts you to a critical deficit in your focus before you attempt to fix it. You cannot deploy effective digital defenses until you accurately acknowledge the severity of the drain. Once that baseline is established, the system requires you to shift gears, turning the dial from red to yellow. Here we enter the protect phase, relying on pre-trauma shields to stabilize daily internet usage. The goal is the gold zone, a stabilized environment where strict personal accountability and active safety protocols keep digital harm away from the family. These shields are explicitly designed to be proactive. They catch and redirect your habits long before a screen storm can inflict lasting damage. This engineering process creates a secure perimeter, moving the burden of defense away from individual willpower and into the infrastructure itself. This approach is part of a broader vision called the Gear 6-7 Newconomy. It outlines a complete market shift that places human restoration above the relentless harvesting of digital data. Central to this is the Blessed Bionic FinShop, a structural framework designed to actively guard your home against the chaos of unregulated online culture. This bar chart models a projected 2026 timeline. Notice how, as the volume of extracted data shrinks, your personal attention reserves increase. Your attention is treated as a currency that you bank, rather than spend on corporate extractors. By banking attention currency rather than surrendering it to extractors, families build a private reserve that serves as the foundation for this restorative economic model, which brings us to the third and optimal stage of the thermostat, the grow phase. Here, the user enters what is termed the zero deprivation zone. Systemic digital neglect gives way to a community-driven model focused entirely on dignified human empowerment. Achieving this state isn't a single massive leap. It is built on 21 tiny wins, incremental, deliberate steps that act as a blueprint for filling your cognitive reserves. This growth is the ultimate objective of the entire Rescue Meter Blessed framework. It moves us out of a defensive survival mode and into active restoration. Once your attention is fully guarded and kept within the gold zone, personal and communal growth ceases to be a struggle. It becomes a natural, compounding outcome. The digital landscape will always try to pull you back into the storm, but your attention is a finite, deeply precious currency. You must reserve it, protect it, and grow with it. The Gear 6-7 new economy replaces systemic neglect with a concrete model of dignified human empowerment.
There's a kid in the corner with a court date soon. Thumb on the glass like a borrowed moon. Grandma on speaker but the ads talk loud. Every app is a lawyer in a shiny crowd. Unrepresented hearts with no one on their side. Screens cross-examine every tear they hide. Other fences glowing in 100 shades. Attention hounds barking in the pixel parade. Art's in the making when the gauge runs dry. No attention reserved, tragedy in plain sight. When nobody's watching but the world's hungry eyes, vulnerable souls get sold by surprise.
Digital interfaces are designed to do more than just display information. They harvest our emotional reactions. Within this system, we function as burner property, disposable assets used to fuel data banks. Living without a way to meter this connection leaves the mind open to every outside force. It is the mental equivalent of a house without a thermostat, unable to regulate the temperature of the information pouring in. This constant harvesting creates a state of perpetual depletion. Without a reserve of attention to draw from, we become a breakdown waiting to happen, vulnerable to the first engineered crisis that hits our screens. Because the current digital ecosystem treats our focus as a resource to be exhausted, survival requires a physical mechanism to measure and protect our remaining cognitive energy. This vulnerability took a literal, fatal form in the case of William Brock, an 83-year-old grandfather in Ohio. Using a single burner phone, scammers bypassed his logical thought and hijacked his protective instincts. They used engineered fear to turn his own driveway into a conflict zone. The encounter ended with the death of an innocent Uber driver. We classify this as a no-attention reserve tragedy, a NART, where a person's mental capacity is so depleted they can no longer filter threat from reality. The tragedy reveals a missing component in our technology. There was no circuit breaker between the panic coming from the phone and the weapon in the grandfather's hand. When digital manipulation leads to physical violence, screen health is no longer an adequate term. We are looking at a requirement for life and death infrastructure. The rescue meter is designed to be that missing circuit breaker. It is a physical tool used to stop the automated response to digital stress. This meter uses a 3-color gauge to track focus. A 10-second check-in reveals if your attention is red, yellow, or green. Identifying a red state creates immediate friction. Acknowledging drained attention creates a momentary pause, preventing an algorithmic prompt from triggering panic. This process follows a protocol: see it, choose it, and bank it. You see your current state, you choose a physical action to take, and you bank that focus back into your own mental reserve. This simple check-in forces the brain out of a reactive loop, breaking the digital circuit before a person reaches the point of total attention collapse. For a circuit breaker to work as infrastructure, it cannot rely on complex software. It must remain functional for the elderly, the cognitively diverse, and those who avoid technology entirely. The system is designed for simple interaction. For a nonverbal user or someone using an AAC device, identifying their mental state is as simple as pointing to one of the 3 colors on a printed poster. This also extends to stand pets. These are animals trained to act as physical attention regulators by nudging a user away from their screen. When a user chooses to pet the dog instead of answering a notification, they are actively logging a green state. They are choosing a physical connection over a digital harvest. The most effective defense against engineered digital fear is a return to radically simple, analog interactions in the physical world. When attention is metered, the flow of cognitive energy changes. Users move away from a state of O's, where their focus is a debt to the machine, and begin to accumulate what we call life equity. This accumulation creates attention wealth. It is the act of validating your own focus, ensuring your mental energy stays within your own control, rather than being harvested by a burner phone. As individuals bank their focus, they form a safer private network. In this system, the goal shifts from defensive privacy to the active reduction of digital conflict, as users are no longer reactive to predatory prompts. Metering attention starves predatory algorithms of their fuel. It allows individuals to reclaim ownership of their mental space, one check-in at a time. The tragedy in that Ohio driveway wasn't caused by a single person, but by an unmetered system that exploited a grandfather's instincts until his attention reserve hit 0. Technology companies cannot provide a shield against every scam. The responsibility of metering attention falls to the individual as a way to rescue themselves from the brink of collapse. We must choose to measure our focus. It is our most finite resource, and protecting it is a requirement for safety in a digital world. The rescue meter provides the circuit breaker the system forgot to build, closing the gap between the fear in a person's chest and the weapon in their hand.
They called it a smart city. They called it AI-assisted care. They called it personalized learning. They called it fit. But the blades were set below the dirt. And every time you thought the yard looked clean, it was cutting the roots. The psychological roots, the time roots, the attention roots, the body regulation roots, and the people who couldn't speak up about it were the ones it cut the deepest. So we gave the dog a collar, and the collar said, "Not this one, not this time." What is a social entrepreneur? Someone who identifies a problem, builds a solution, finds a customer, generates revenue, creates impact. Slide 2. Slide 2. No water meter for attention, just the drain nobody named. No gas gauge for the reserve, just the exhaustion unclaimed. Books that nobody opened, YouTube nobody found. Notebook LM materials floating without a pilot on the ground. The beneficiary needed help, but help required a customer first. The customer needed proof, but proof required a pilot rehearsed. The pilot needed a partner, the partner needed a track record clear. So the sole proprietor on the river stayed alone another year. No list, just the idea, no room, just the vision. No cohort, just the deck, no documented decision. No Liberty boosters, no landing page opt-in, no family cafe booth, no proof of concept when. No education first, the free doors stayed locked. No trust second, the community never knocked. No product third, because second never came. No 250 Liberty boosters, no one to claim. No list, no room, no pilot cohort built, no documented case, just the vision and the guilt from data deprivation zone. Nobody protected free, no social enterprise, no Matthew 5 decree. Rescue reserve without the rescue, just the name. No proof yet, no proof yet, and it stayed the same. The customer discovery questions nobody asked. The beneficiary empathy map nobody tasked. The UVP never drafted, 5 versions never tried. The theory of change unwritten, the impact unmeasured, untried. The dog with the smart collar concept on a page. The AAC child still pointing at a gauge. Nobody made the senior, picked up the scam call. The grandparent lost the stand in the sandwich parent at midnight. No reserve meter, no landing, no venture. They asked me what I built. I said a water meter for attention. They said, who pays for that? I said, education first, trust second, product third. They said, that's not how startups work. I said, this isn't a startup, this is a rescue. Trust not a Silicon Valley founder, it's sole proprietors on a river. Ministry shaped and mission driven, social enterprise with a quiver. Books and YouTube and notebook LM, the free front door is open wide. DIY challenges in trust building, proof of concept dignified. The beneficiary is the grandparent, the senior picking up the scam call. The sandwich parent at midnight, the AAC child who points not talks. They don't need a pitch deck, they need a gauge that shows them where they are. Education first, trust second, product third, that's the North Star. Not non-profit, not startup, not the Silicon Valley kind. Faith informed and Jesus-centered, but accessible to every mind. Water meter for attention, gas gauge for emotional reserve, rescue line before the crisis, that's the venture this world deserves. Education first, the free door opens, trust second, community woven, product third. When proof is real, the 250 Liberty Booster seal. One list, one room, one pilot cohort, one documented case that carries forward from data deprivation zone to protected free. Social enterprise, Matthew 5, that's the decree. Rescue reserve, education first, that's how we begin. Not a revenue proof, and then we'll let the rescue in. The customer discovery.
See it, choose it, bank it. Unlock a life beyond the screen.